Right, and that's one of the reasons that my particular take doesn't have the same criticisms that the Calvinist has against the simple foresight view or looking through the quarters of time view that some Arminians take.
Yeah.
In other words, I would agree with them that there is an intimacy in the word knowledge or
Mm-hmm.
this kind of knowing. So he intimately knew Abraham, for example. He intimately knew Elijah. He intimately had a relationship with the Israelites who were in relationship with him in the past. And so when he comes to verse 28, and he says, we know, that word there is we know because we have observed this. We know
Mm-hmm.
this from experience that God causes all things to work together for good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose. So how would he back up that statement? He would back it up by saying, just look at those he's formerly worked with in the past. Look at those he's formerly called. Look at those he's formerly loved. And that's exactly what we believe he's saying here in verse 29. For those whom he foreknew, he previously knew in the past, he predetermined or he predestined them to become conformed to the image of his son. And
Mm-hmm.
so, in other words, what I take him to be saying is this is proof. Look at what God's done with the saints of old. This is proof that he works all things together for the good of those who love God and are called to his
Oh
purpose.
man, that's a good point. Yeah, I've got in my Bible in verse 29. I think you have the same translation. You said the NASB, so hopefully this will work out as I say it. But in verse 29, I got for those. I got the word those circled, and then I got a line going back to 28 that says, and we know that God causes all things to work together for good to those who love God. And I've got that those circled too, and a line going back and forth saying, okay, those whom God foreknew are those who loved God. And like you said, yeah, it seems to me that the correct interpretation, just from the context, is this, which is really repeating what you just said, I think. But just to be sure, is okay. We know God. There may be bad things happening, but if you love God, He's going to bring all things to work out for good.
Right.
And the proof of this is He's done it in the past. Those He formerly knew. Is that
Right.
pretty much right?
Yes, and the backing for this is that he switches to past tense in verse 29.
Mm-hmm.
So he starts using past tense verbs, proving that he's talking about people in the past.
Mm-hmm. And the conjunction there, for, would kind of be a proof of, like, he's now giving an example.
Exactly. And this is the most simplistic reading of the text. In other words, what I mean is that there's no
You don't have
esoteric,
yeah.
Deep theological thinking that you have to, bring in. This,
You don't have to load this word foreknew with a bunch of,
right. And it's being used like it's used four or five
else
in the and throughout the New Testament.
Oh man, it's good.
And it takes away the whole debate between Arminians and Calvinists.